What's up, guys? It's Andrew Bishop here to share with you, I believe, is a small miracle. It's not a physical miracle like maybe you've heard recently in the news about the man who fell 47 stories and still lived, or other, physical, like life saving miracles. This is more of like a soul saving, a spiritual miracle. Let me just set it up for you. Basically, I'm going to speak really fast because I don't want this video to be too long. So just try to listen to exactly what I'm saying. Basically, I was in a ESPN/Sunkiss promoted Dick Vitale impersonation contest about a year ago during March. Me and my roommate both won the contest. Out of thousands of entries, we both won the contest. We were selected to be in the top 25 of this Dick Vitale impersonation contest. Well, the top 15 of those said 25 got to get an all expense paid trip to whatever conference basketball tournament college that they wanted to go to. So 2 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks went by of viewers voting and stuff. Well, my roommate Mike and I both won separately. We got to take one person with us. I took my brother, he took his brother. We both went to New York City. All expense paid trip. Amazing. Such a blessing from God. We got to go to the Big East tournament, got to see all the games, and then during one of the games, we got to perform on court in front of 20,000 people at Madison Square Garden, our impersonation of Dick Vitale. I went first, Mike, and then another guy. It was 3 people per conference tournament. So there were 3 people in New York, there were 3 people in Nashville for the SEC tournament, 3 people in LA. So all these different places people went to. Out of the 15, 5 different places, 3 people went to each. Well, me and Mike both went to New York, and it was me against Mike, my roommate, against one other person. Well, we got to perform for $10,000, and Mike, my roommate at the time, actually won. He won $10,000, got a big old check and everything. Such a blessing, amazing trip. Well, like I said, there were thousands of entries into this contest, hosted by Sunkiss and ESPN. Well, I went to a UK basketball game. This season's going to be a great season with Terrence Jones and Brandon Knight. It's just going to be awesome. All right, anyway, so I went to a game with a buddy of mine, and this buddy of mine, he believes in God, but as I don't see him pursuing Christ, basically. Like just by conversations that we've had, it's just one of those things where he believes God exists, but it's not one of those things where, he's constantly in the Word, or this or that, constantly prayers, stuff like that. And we've talked about it, and he's just kind of put it off as something he doesn't think like you need to do, basically. Like he's read in the past, but that's the degree of his faith. So on my way down, going down to the game and stuff, I went to a game with him before, and I just prayed. I was like, Lord, on my way down, faith is so important to me, and God, I just want to share your story. I just want an opportunity where I can share with this guy, more about you in a way, because I've tried in the past, when we've seen each other and stuff, and it's one of those things that's always dismissed as a coincidence, or it's always dismissed as something small or not of God, basically. So we go down to the game. The ride down was great. We just talked about sports and stuff like that. During halftime of the game, he goes down to get something to eat, and I was sitting by an older couple, older male and female, and as I was sitting there during halftime, the older gentleman also went down to get something to eat at halftime, like most people do, or use the restroom or whatever. Well, the lady looks over at me during the halftime show, and she goes, "Young man, you'll never believe this." And I was like, "What's that?" She was like, "Every time I see a halftime show, I just remember about my husband last year." I was like, "Oh, really?" Her husband was the gentleman with her. And she was like, "Yeah, my husband was in this contest, and he got to go down at half court, and he got to present, do an impersonation for $10,000 at this contest." I was like, "The Dick Vitale impersonation contest?" She goes, "Yeah, how did you know that?" I was like, "No way, I was in the Dick Vitale impersonation contest last year." She was like, "You're lying to me." I showed her my phone where I shaved my head and all that. It was so fun, so crazy. But I was like, "Wait, your husband, the guy that's with you, he was in the contest?" And she was like, "Yeah, his name is Joe." And I was like, "Oh my, I remember Joe." Joe was the older man that I kind of wanted to win, and so he can go see UK, because like he was a big UK fan and stuff. And I was like, "No way, your husband was in the same contest I was, out of thousands of entries, and they're sitting right next to me." Like, how amazing is that? That just doesn't happen. So I was like, "Look, when your husband gets back up here during this, when UK touches the ball for the second time after their second play, I'm gonna look over at him and just do a Dick Vitale impersonation. And she was like, oh, don't do that. I was like, no, it'll be all right. So he comes back up and my friend comes back up and I don't say a word. Well, as we were talking about it during halftime, everybody was like listening in and turning around and we're like, oh, that's so cool and stuff. So he goes down, this old man, he gets these donut holes, Krispy Kreme donut holes. So he comes up, UK, after their second play, I lean over. Well, as soon as I lean over, everybody else turns around because they want to hear my impersonation and they want to see his reaction. All of a sudden, this old man, he's like, y'all want some holes? It was the cutest thing in the world. You know how old people can be cute sometimes. You know what I'm saying. So I was like, oh, man. And everyone starts laughing. So then I look over and I was just like, oh, are you serious, this man? And I just bust out laughing as I'm doing my impersonation. He's like, what did my wife tell you? I was like, Joe, you have no idea. I was in that contest too. I won as well. He didn't win the $10,000 like it was him against two other people. He went to Nashville for the SEC tournament. He didn't win the $10,000 like me. I didn't win the $10,000, but we won the trip, and that's a blessing in itself. So we talked the whole game. The UK game didn't matter. At that point, it didn't matter anymore. My focus was this guy. UK wins by 10-20. That's great. That's awesome. Go Cats. But this, to me, is an amazing experience. So we exchange emails and all that fun stuff, and it's great. Well, on the ride back, I was like, wow, this is what, because my buddy heard us talking the whole game. I honestly think he maybe got agitated by it. So on the way home, that was the opportunity, that not coincidence, but that, like I said, that spiritual miracle, if you will, led me to be able to talk to my buddy more about God and how amazing he is. And just by praying that prayer about that, he answered it. He gave me the opportunity. So when you pray for things, it might not come in the way that you think. Of course, there was no way I would think that would ever happen. Like, what are the odds that, that a guy in the same contest, nationwide contest, will be sitting right next to me at a game? It's just amazing how God works. And so I just want to encourage you guys, like, if I encourage you guys to pray. And when you do pray, just be honest and humble, and God will answer your prayer. He might not answer it right away. He might not answer it in the fashion that you want it to be answered, but the prayer will be answered. And in that case, it was answered, and I was able to talk about God, whether I planted a seed and it got watered, or whether God watered a seed through me of a seed that was already previously planted. I don't know. Maybe it was harvested. I don't know. But God answered that prayer, and it was just an encouragement. It was a big up, if you will, on my faith, because it just encouraged me and inspired me to continue to pray and continue to be in His Word, because our Savior loves, our Savior lives. And I just want to encourage you guys to just continue praying, and He will answer your prayers.